I'm here to host this today. I work for Cisco in the marketing team with a specific focus on enterprise networks. So I have a little knowledge, not nearly as deep and as technical as all of you guys here, but I have a few questions to run through. So I think to start with, it would be great if you could each introduce yourselves. Easier for you to introduce yourselves than for me to be doing that. So let me just move the slides on. Here we go. So can we start with Françoise? If you would just say hi.
Hi. Is that working? Yeah. Good morning. My name is François de Vienne. Obviously, I'm French. I'm the VP of Network Optimization within Xperio. Xperio is the world's largest internet service broker. So we have 3,000 contracts with local service providers in around 200 countries. And we're able to provide internet access from broadband to high-speed fibers in all these countries with a single invoice, single implementation team anywhere. I used to be the CEO and co-founder of Border6, which was a BGP optimization, internet routing optimization software company acquired by Xperio in 2017. And I have a technical background.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And we also have Charles here, who is working with Meraki deployment. So Charles, a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm called Charles. I work for a large French beauty company. We are a Cisco enterprise customer, but we also have an extensive portfolio of Meraki equipment. We're using it for our retail environment and for some of our LAN environment. So my expertise is on the Meraki SD-WAN. To answer the question, whilst ACS is relatively new, the Meraki portfolio has been around for about 4 years. So you've got SD-WAN technology in the Cisco portfolio, which is very mature and proven.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And Peter Ann, we obviously have met you already. And I think Justin, unfortunately, has got held up. So our apologies for that, but we can still go ahead with the questions as they stand. So, okay, so I did give these guys a little bit of advance warning, the questions that were coming, so they had some time to think about it. So the first question that we'd like each of you, if you could, just to give us your thoughts on is, what are your thoughts on the key challenges and barriers to moving to a software-defined approach? Obviously, Peter, you've given some tips and insights already. So, Charles, if we could start with your thoughts on that.
It was interesting because Peter and I met today, so we hadn't prepared before. I agreed with his points. One of the key ones is a change of culture, because the Cisco Classic world, you're all trained to go and touch devices and connect to devices. In the SD environment, it's all coming through portfolios, through websites, through cloud management. It's a different way of working. You need less people, and you get tools which you can share across an organisation.
Fantastic. And anything you would add to that there, François, or some different perspectives from your experience?
Well, I tend to look at all these questions from a technical perspective, so from a very field look or field eye. We've been working a lot with Cisco DMVPN, then I1. We are looking now into new SD-WAN technologies. All that relies on IPsec at the end of the day, if you want to deploy that on the internet. And IPsec relies mainly on the internet. The good challenge with internet is that it's everywhere. So you can buy an internet service in any country. The downside is that you lose the quality of service and the SLAs that you had with MPLS private networks. So I think the main challenge that you basically face with deploying SD-WAN and those IPsec tunnels and all this cloud management stuff is whether the underlay, so the network that's going to carry your network, is reliable or not. And then you need to build up some kind of strategy to understand what's the quality, monitor that quality, and basically choose the right service providers in each of the countries where you operate SD-WAN.
What we found when we were working was that just buying an internet link in the UK is not the same as buying an internet link in France.
No.
So although you're buying what you think is, it's going to be 10 meg down and 2 meg up, it does depend on the physical infrastructure installed in the country. So like, really good countries, Germany, their internet is generally very good. Not great, unfortunately, Spain. We found problems with the internet in Spain. And people like his company actually have been through the pain and understand and have the detailed knowledge of who to use in which country.
And anything you would add to that, Peter Jan?
No, that's true. Yeah, it's there. It's true. It's also organization and technology and underlay, of course, in an SD-WAN environment, but also in a software-defined LAN access or in the data center. That underlay is still important, but it's really a different way of thinking. It's not doing everything on box indeed, but it's also that you need to approach your network in a different way. And I think that's one of the key challenges as well.
Okay, fantastic. So moving on. So then, given that, what would you say are the top considerations when you are making your selections for your network infrastructure in this new environment? There's a number of features that we've pulled out when we've done our research around security management, innovation. What would your thoughts be on which things you're looking for when you're looking for the right infrastructure and you're making your preparations?
To be honest, security is just a key component. It needs to be embedded everywhere. The internet is built in the 80s without anything about security, or actually the 70s. So it's patched, it's by default insecure. So you really need to think about security. So that's a key element. But for me to select a proper network infrastructure component, it's looking at a no regret situation. I don't want to be restricted into a single technology, and in 5 years' time I've shot myself in my foot because I cannot continue. And that's something that you can now see with Cisco with the 3850 and now the Catalyst 9000 series. They have a chip in which they can program the features during the installation lifetime, and that's really key because then I can really do new technologies. So this whole software-defined approach, for example, it wasn't even existing technology when the 3800 was introduced, and yet it's now available and supported in hardware. So for me it's more looking at the future, not about innovation at the moment, but am I able to change and adapt based on my business drivers and what my customer needs.
What we found with our adoption of Meraki was you're working with a technology which changes and improves as you go along. So what we started with 4 years ago is significantly better, but also it's about simplicity and about it being intuitive to use. So in the keynote they showed you the Meraki dashboard. We have a simple rule. If you ask for access, we'll give read-only access to anyone. So we give it to external partners, to our internal organisation. We get people who work in management of our retail environment use it to see how busy our stores are, because the tool is intuitive. It's easy to use, and you can either use it at a very technical level, so you can do things like packet captures and look at all the packet information going in and out, all the way up to nice graphical views of what your overall estate is looking like. So for me the key is about simplicity and about collaboration. You should have a tool that everybody can use to make the service you deliver better.
Fantastic. And Francoise, your thoughts?
I think we could talk about that question for hours, but one of the most important things I would stress is quite obvious actually. If you look at the data center design or any network design, we always put two boxes. I mean, if you have a nuclear power plant, there's only one. It has to work. In networks, we assume that there might be a failure, hardware failure, software failure. Okay, we always put two boxes. When you add features and artificial intelligence, DPI, all these software features that are coming now are making reasons for more bugs, more issues. So I think you have to be very careful when you deploy such services that the software and the boxes that you deploy are reliable. Because if you lose connectivity with your remote office, if you lose connectivity with any kind of network location that's reaching your services, they're stuck. They can't reach the services anymore. The good thing, and I'm going to make a bit of advertisement for Cisco here. The good thing with Cisco is that they have a long experience with this SD-WAN, starting from IPsec, the MVPN, and so on. So I think the code is really reliable. And at the end of the day, that's something you should figure out. Because, yeah, if you're stuck with a software issue or hardware issue, it makes problems. And we saw in the previous presentation that network teams already have too many problems to manage.
So it's definitely, simplicity is definitely key, security, and then the resilience, making sure you've got a backup and you don't have any failover. Okay, fantastic. So I forgot to move the slide, so I'll do that now. And moving on from there, so we're talking a lot about intent-based networking. This is what we've been talking about this morning. Software-defined is that intuitive network, is making the network more responsive and capable of supporting your needs. So if you could talk a little bit about, we've talked about the what you would want to think about when you're deploying a network, but what about the potential it's going to offer? What do you see as being the value it's going to offer to you within your organisations to benefit your businesses of moving to a different approach to the network? Peter?
With the specific customer I'm currently working on, it's the ease of use and agility. So at the moment, if a new customer comes in or we need a new network, it takes a month or 2 months to put that new network all over the world, or a software upgrade. And with intent-based network, you have your basic underlay already there, and you can just adopt for that specific application a new network. So how it will transform the business, well, that's something in the future, and I cannot look into the future. But with intent-based network, you're automating your rules, and with those rules, it's much easier to gain control and really change the way how you organize your network. And it's easier to adopt. It's easier to set up a new network if you just want it. So if somebody just needs a network for a day, just provision it. Just say, I need this new virtual network that just needs internet connection for that conference. And then after a day, just remove it, because that's what we usually forget, removing old networks.
Fantastic. And Charles, you're looking at me, so have you got some thoughts on that as well?
I have a slightly different view that in the application world there was a big push about changing the way we develop applications. In the old days it was waterfall, step at a time. Then they talked about DevOps, which is where the guys who operated an application work closely with the design guys. For me, SD networking is actually the DevOps of the networking world. It should bring together all of the different parts of IT and your organization to work in a collaborative way, so they see the full picture of what's going on, and they use it in different ways. So if you take an application, you've got the guys who actually run it and use it. They can use the SD-WAN dashboard, in my case from Meraki, to see what's going on, all the way through to the technical guys. And if each person does their bit a little bit better, then the experience for our customers overall is much better.
Fantastic, thank you. And Francois, any thoughts from yourself about the future and the opportunity?
Again, I think if you look at practical examples, for instance, let's assume that your company acquires a new company, or your company merged with another company, or develops in a new geography. You just need an internet access. You have someone with a scooter or a small car going to the location, plugging the SD-WAN device, and this office is connected to your internal applications. So if you compare to what we had like 15 years ago or 10 years ago with those private networks, now we have a real focus on making internet, or transforming internet as the only transport media. And I think that's really something new, because like 5 years ago we were still considering internet as an offload or an alternative to a private network. So that's ubiquity. I think we say that in English, ubiquity. Mm-hmm. You can connect your offices anywhere.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And a little bit moving on. So, slightly different to my question. So, so when you're thinking about working with Cisco, what have been the benefits that you've realised through having the relationship with Cisco?
Oh, yes, it's there.
Peter, please.
Thank you. Yes, it's there. Now it's there. Okay, thank you. From a personal experience, I've been working with Cisco for 20 years. And one of the key drivers, or what I've seen in the past, is that Cisco has a vision. And sometimes that vision is a little bit too far ahead. But usually that vision has come true. So if you really look at this moment, what's being taught about the intuitive network, or 2 years ago about security everywhere, it's now becoming into place. So take those signs from Cisco and start doing it, because in 2 years' time, actually everybody will be in an intent-based network.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of, you know, the things that you really care about, the things that concern you, and the problems that you need to resolve every day. So, you know, what is it about the Meraki solution that's that helps you?
Yeah. For me, Cisco's easy. They innovate. They lead the industry. Yeah. And in the old days, there used to be a joke: if you bought IBM, you wouldn't be fired. Cisco and Cisco products is the same for me for networking.
It's pretty simple and to the point. And Francois, you had any other thoughts on that?
Again, I think, sorry, is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. I think we could be talking about that questions for hours, but one thing I would like to stress here is the quality of the support. I think when you deploy your software, again, you need it to work, and sometimes it fails. And when you call in support, you need to make sure that the engineers that reply to your questions or issues actually understand what they're talking about, and they can talk to the engineering and fix the problems. If you look from a practical perspective, Cisco is very strong in that area. In any of the product portfolio sections, they've been very strong with their support, and I think that's the thing I would stress here.
That's really refreshing to hear, and I know my services colleagues would be delighted to hear you saying that. But it's absolutely true that you know, you need someone there to support you. You need backup. You don't want to buy something and walk away, and the vendor say thanks so much for your order, and off I go. Yeah, we're here with you, is your experience, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to comment on that. I think there's always a strong presence of the vendors in the RFP period. They're all there. They invite you to restaurants. They are nice to you. But when it comes to support is seen as a cost. It's not adding value to anything. But when you're in trouble, you need strong support people, even if they are costly, because they are knowledgeable. You need them, and that's a big difference with some of our competitors.
Fantastic. Did you have something else? No?
I fully agree with that. Gartner has confirmed it already for 5 or 8 years that most enterprises choose Cisco for their support, so I'm fully in that as well. I forgot to mention that, so thanks.
Well, thank you very much for attending. I hope you found that really useful, and thank you very much.
Thank you.